The following podcast is rated G for gammon. Please be aware it may contain some coarse language and is not suitable for children or gammon audiences. You know what, brother? We need to make a disco version of that.
A disco version?
Yeah, I want courage for listening. I want a disco version of the intro because it just reminds me of like Mardi Gras. And Mardi Gras was on the weekend. I don't know if you've seen it.
I did.
You know what? I had a bit of FOMO because last year I was there. I'm not going to lie.
I saw the photos.
You saw the photo. What was I dressed in last year? Go on. Explain it to everyone.
Was it like a cowboy hat? Mm-hmm. You had some denim on. Mm-hmm. And that's all I can remember.
Wow. You don't remember the boots. You don't remember the outrageous hair, which was a wig. You don't remember the makeup that I did.
I don't pay that much attention to other people. I'm very self-centered.
What about the fact that my cowboy hat had diamantes like
I was about to say
there
was some sort of Diamante action in there.
Del Monte, you reckon? What's a Del Monte?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know these things. I've never Diamante'd myself before.
Del Monte, you know
good
what?
Ways or bad ways.
You need to go to Mardi Gras, brother. It is so good.
Yeah. Every year I say, next year we should go down, but I haven't been yet. So hopefully we can do a podcast down there.
Could you
next
imagine?
year.
Oh my God, how do we do that? Because last year I went with like a work float that I had to do, and it was it was one of the very first ones because it was a First Nations. It was. I can't say it's a float because we just had a little group. Bless our little heart.
That's still a float. Like you don't have to have the big deli truck and everything.
We didn't have a car. We didn't have it. We just had a little group who we just walked with our sign, and it was really cute. But we were not far behind the First Nations float, so. Yeah, I think we were like number 4.
Okay, so have you been not participating, or that was the first one you went and you were just walking?
Yeah, no, I did. My very first year I lived in Sydney. This is terrible. I went out the night of Mardi Gras to see Mardi Gras. Didn't make it because I was too busy having pre-drinks when I was a drinker with a group of blackfellas, and we missed the whole thing.
No, don't.
I know. But I didn't know that with Mardi Gras, if you want to see the parade, you have to get there at like the crack of dawn. And
they're lining up early. Like I've never been, but I've seen all the coverage and stuff, and it's literally like people it's broad daylight and people are out there sweating up just so they can get the best spot.
They got their chairs, and there's also like milk crates that everyone gets, and you stand on the milk crate and you can see, and so everyone's there early. So the first time I went, we did not prep, and we're like, well, no point going now.
Well, you prepped, but you were just prep drinking. You didn't actually prep to attending.
So then by the time I got to Oxford Street, all I saw was like all the drag queens with their shoes off by that stage. I didn't get to see them in their glory walking and strutting. Yeah, I just saw that.
Okay, I get you now.
I saw the 1 a.m. drag queens who were hurting from the high heels. So... Yes.
Well, what's the vibe like? Like I've been in some Mardi Gras, but not in that Mardi Gras. Like up in Gladstone, we have what's the thing called? Oh, it's called the Harbour something Mardi Gras. And, it's they have the floats, and like every little country town, have all the floats and everything. And so we did some basketball ones, and I think I might have did a church one back in the good old days.
Well, my hometown, the closest thing that comes in any sort of comparison to any sort of float situation and parade, there's a thing in my hometown, and it's called the Maize Festival. Have you heard of this?
Only because you talked about it. I would have heard about it.
I feel like I need to explain because...
Actually, I would lie. It wasn't just you. It's my mate Shifty. Shout out Shifty. He grew up in Ravenshoe.
Okay.
He talked about the Maize Festival. When I talked about the Harbour Festival, he was trying to compare it to his Gammon Little Maize Festival. Like, brother, one has a big ship with the Brisbane Gladstone yacht race. The other one is in Atherton.
Hey!
3 people walking.
Hey, come on now.
Come on now. Like,
it's the biggest night in Atherton. Okay, everyone turns out for it. So I just want to explain... on the levels of what I knew. So I didn't grow up with with the amazing Mardi Gras festival. I grew up, and I always like to say that I am a drag queen trapped in a female body. So I'm a gay drag queen man trapped in a female body. Let that sink in, because I just love drag queens. I love overly femme, amazing, outrageous outfits. I love that. That's like my, because I don't dress like that any other day, because it's like my alter ego. Right. So I feel like that's, I want to live out my drag queen fantasy. But when I was growing up in Atherton, in a small town, we had what's called the Maize Festival, and it is literally maize, aka corn. The Corn Festival.
The Corn Festival, that's right.
So we grew up, in the country. So there was lots of corn growing where I was, and so we would have to go to school. And in primary school, they used to give us corn cobs, right, in like I think it was term 2. It's the middle of the year, so it's usually around June, July or something like that. You get these corn cobs, and then it would be like a theme every year for the Maize Fest. There's a theme, and this happens. It still happens in my hometown.
Still happening today, 2025.
Still happening. And there's a theme every year, so it could be like fairy tales might be the theme. And then in your classroom at Atherton Primary School, you would get the task of decorate that corn cob in a fairy tale. And then the best ones get put up at the Maize Festival and judged. So you literally would...
That sounds like a deadly experience, to be honest. I mean, it's not nothing. You get celebrated. And
only the best ones get picked. So if you do up this corn cob good enough to match the theme of the Maize Fest on the night of the Maize Festival, you get to go to the Maize Fest, and everyone on a small town and in Athens, there's a top street and a bottom street. And so you get to either stand on one of those streets, and everyone lines the streets, and then around the laps, what happens is tractors, and they have a Maize Queen contestant on the back. Okay.
Yeah. Now did you ever try to be Maize Queen?
No, I was like, okay, you need to understand. Maize Queens are like the prom girls. They're like the queen of the prom. They're like the popular, pretty girls. Generally white. I don't remember ever seeing a black Maize Festival girl. Could be wrong.
Could the listeners fact check this for us? Well, I want to see if there's ever been a non-white Maize Queen, please.
I feel like, or a candidate at least. I feel like maybe there was one candidate, and she was one, but I can't remember if there's ever been a black winner of the Maize Festival. The Maize Queen has ever been black. I don't know. But you got to understand, these girls are on the back of these trucks. They've got sponsored by somebody in the town, and they are waving like they are...
doing the Queen's Wave.
They're doing the Queen's Wave down to everybody on the street in Atherton, and that is the closest thing to the Mardi Gras I've ever gotten. And as you can see, it's a long way away.
Well, there was Queens. That's a good start. There's floats.
This is the type of town I come from. How I've never was a Maize Queen, I don't know.
It amazes me. I don't know what it amazes me.
It amazes you. I was waiting for that.
That wasn't supposed to be a pun. It's just how good I am at this job.
Someone said, could you go back now and try out for Maize Queen? I said, no, because you have to be like generally between the age of 16 and 21 is the age.
So you just missed out.
I just missed, exactly right. I just turned 25, so it's really hard. But the Maize Queens, they did their thing. So you can imagine me at the Mardi Gras for the very first time, and I'm participating in Mardi Gras.
That is amazing.
The Maize Queens got nothing on me. I'm living my Beyonce fantasy, my Cowboy Carter fantasy last year. I had the wig, I had the makeup, and honestly, I had these black sunglasses on with diamantes all the way around them. I had these lace gloves, and I was waving to everyone like I was the Maize Queen, and I was like on RuPaul's Drag Race and Beyonce's like catwalk at the same time.
I'm looking it up right now.
Are you looking me up?
Yeah, I'm looking you up.
Oh my God. It was honestly one of the best experiences I have ever had, and it's a big walk. I don't know how drag queens do it in the high heels, because I was in cowboy boots. Granted, they aren't real cowboy boots; they're just from City Beach. But I was living the fantasy,
Yeah, okay. I found your profile picture, and I can see what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone
got the shade fan.
I had the shade fan. Yep, I had a whip.
Big boots on.
Yep.
You still got them boots?
I still got those boots. I don't know where else to wear them. I've still got the wig. I don't know what I've got to do with these things in my life. But everyone like waves to you. Everyone is so inclusive and so happy. I've never been in a happier group of people in my life.
One of the best videos I saw from Mardi Gras this year was a country fella who got interviewed by the guy from ABC, the interviewer, the host. He was interviewing this mate. So one of the people were gay, and the other guy wasn't gay, and they were both older gentlemen, like in their 50s and 60s.
So cute.
And it was so deadly, like to see this old white fella, like, this is amazing. Like people from all over Australia need to come and see this because you just see everybody's getting along. There's no drama. It's like back in my little country town. They wouldn't like this, but they need to come and see this for themselves. And that went viral just because of how genuine that guy was, but also because how amazing it was just to be like, he's right. Like it's just it looks like an amazing event of inclusivity, and I'm very jealous and I hope to go one day.
We need to like, I don't know how we get in there and how we do it. I know there's a whole bunch of things you have to do, but I feel like we need to either get on the First Nations float or we need to find a way in somewhere to be able to.
We need to convince Brooke and what's his name to do Brooke and Maddie. Like, let's do a First Nations podcast float.
Come on.
Anybody that's in the First Nations podcast.
We get Mara, Bales. There's a few mob doing, let's get all the podcasters.
Get all the podcasts on there. We'll have our own float.
Oh, could you imagine? I think one of the best moments, the most magical moments are all the photos of all the First Nations mob. I seen Barker up on the float. She was representing, like there's just mob everywhere. And I think the big one that everyone was talking about this week was Felicia Foxx, who is a Sydney-based drag queen. When I reference Felicia in these conversations or any drag queen, I always usually say she or they, so as their pronouns. So Felicia, magical. I don't know if you've seen the photo.
I saw a few of their photos. Looks deadly, proud, staunch. Obviously, they were going for something that was going to get people's attention, and they really got people's attention because my Facebook was flooded with posts.
If you don't know the picture that we're referencing, it's all across our social media, but obviously we've got people that are in different parts of the world. So Felicia was dressed in a lap with latex red high heels. First of all, the fact that she can stand up in them, props,
and do that whole walk.
And do the whole walk. And then she had traditional paint up on her face and also holding a spear. So, and I can be really honest with you, brother, and with everyone that's listening to this podcast. When I first saw the photo, I was like stunned. Like it really my brain was trying to come to terms with what I was seeing, as in, whoa, like this is such a mix of traditional self-expression, everything. And it was like, it took my mind really all week to unpack and to really like study that photo. And the more that I've studied it, the more I go, holy, that's a piece of art. Like what she's doing is art. And yes, it's shocking. And that is part of, I think, and I'm sure Felicia at some point she'll come out and say that, that they wanted to do that. I'm sure that's part of it. It was a shock factor. And it did that for me. And I know it's done it for a lot of mob.
A First Nations drag performer has defended the outfit they wore at Sydney's gay and lesbian Mardi Gras after drawing criticism online. Felicia Foxx is a brother boy, sister girl drag performer of the Kamilaroi and Dunghutti nations. For Saturday's Mardi Gras parade, Felicia wore an outfit that represented their take on queer Aboriginal identity. While there was enthusiastic support on social media, the outfit also attracted criticism and questions around its cultural appropriateness.
I wore traditional ochre paint, which was gifted to me by an uncle from Kamilaroi country, Uncle Raymond Wetherall. And I also had a spear with me, which was made by my brother. It was a fishing spear. To me, I think that outfit to me just spoke volumes of the person that I am today, living in this modernized, westernized world that we have to live in.
And it really speaks to, the expression and the evolution of culture, right? That space that is Mardi Gras is such a safe space. It is the space for LGBTQI people plus to come together to be themselves, to feel safe. And you honestly feel, it's like the only thing I can really, because I'm not part of this community, neither are you, you know, we're not part of the LGBTQI community. And we just want to acknowledge that by having this conversation. But we also want to acknowledge the journey that Felicia and others at, you know, Mardi Gras on the weekend and in this week, and how it's been for them online and what we've seen as part of that. But I just wanted to say, like, you know, that was so powerful to watch and to see at Mardi Gras, because it is the space where if a queer person that Felicia describes herself as, if a queer person can't express themselves there in their space, in that environment, in the way that they choose, then where can they? Where can they?
I didn't have the same reaction as you, and it might be because the first time I saw the post was under like a homophobic post on that.
Oh, yeah.
And so like I read it, and then I saw the picture, and I just saw the power. So I think reading somebody's homophobic post sort of switched my brain into they're being super critical. What are they being super critical of? Then I looked at the post, and I was like, how, like, you know, like one person was talking about, don't disrespect our culture. I was like, but it's their culture too.
It's their culture too.
How, like, are you telling them that they can't express their own culture in one of the biggest days for them, you know, for their mob, like for queer folk, and Mardi Gras is it, like, you know, that's their Christmas, and you're saying to them, you can't be Aboriginal on that day. Like, you got to be a different sort of Aboriginal on that day. Don't bring your Aboriginality. I saw a few times people like, don't bring your sexuality into my culture. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'll never understand is for any colonized mob, like every mob around the world, regardless if you're Aboriginal, you know, whatever that is, we all had queer folk as part of our families traditionally. The homophobia stuff didn't come in until other religions come in. That's where that stuff came from. So this sort of goes back a little bit to what we talked about last week. Like, there's this toxic masculinity where they're threatened by that. And so when I first saw the photo, I was just like, that's deadly. Like I just like went to their posts, put some fire emojis, like just want to support them, because like they're getting flamed right now. Like, they're getting smashed by mob telling them to not do it. And I'm like,
See, I saw the photo when she first, because I follow Felicia, and I saw the photo when she first posted it, and there weren't any racist comments then, or homophobic comments. And so I just saw the photo for, she's at Mardi Gras, she's posted this photo, and I just looked at them, just gone, holy, like I knew straight away, well, this is going to be controversial. But I, you know, seeing Felicia's drag over the years, that's what she does. This is the thing. If you know drag, if you know this, you know, you follow these queens, you know their journey.
They're making a statement, eh?
They're making a statement, and drag is very much about making a statement and pushing the boundaries. And those boundaries can make people feel uncomfortable if you are homophobic, if you buy into these introduced things that we're talking about. But I saw the photo there, and then, you know, a couple hours later, seeing the homophobia, you know, I have been cyberbullied, like, to the extreme, and also by community. And it is, even though when you know you're going to post something controversial, you know that as a content creator, and Felicia is that to an extent. She, you know, when she's going to post, she's got a fair few followers, so she knows when she's going to post something that's going to get that attention, you know, it's Mardi Gras, it's outrageous. That's what Mardi Gras is. It is about being over the top and pushing boundaries. And she did that, and she would have known, oh, yeah, this is going
to get them.
It's going to rattle some cages, right? And there is that blurring of the lines there that really, like, once I took the week to unpack it and to think critically and go, oh, you know what? Like, she's mixing that evolution of culture, then also being in the city, but also being queer, like those intersections. And we talk about intersectionality in every other thing in our community, but when a queer queen gets up and is really doing what queens do, which is drag queens, getting up and pushing that boundary, it is everyone lost their mind. and it was either in a good way or a really bad way. There was no in between.
Yeah, and I called a few people out for it. So a few people who posted that I'm friends with, I was like, don't mix your homophobia with my culture. Like you don't get to police that. If you want to have a cultural yarn, have a cultural yarn, but don't pretend like you being homophobic is the same as you protecting our culture, because you had no problem with black fellas wearing football boots and football jerseys, painted up, holding spears and
Correct.
chanting and doing a dance and stuff. That's got nothing to do with traditional culture. You had no problem with that the week before. Literally 7 days, 7 days, 2 weeks before, you're up there posting that this is deadly, this is amazing, love hearts, blah, 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 black power. And then a queer person does the same thing, and all of a sudden now we got to stick to tradition. Now you want to go put your lap on and go out bush and spear a kangaroo because that's the only way we can have culture. Like, wake up to yourself, seriously. Like, you can't have that double standard where you're going to let the people you agree with have that cultural connection and bring that culture to their version of what their community looks like, and then discriminate against somebody who's already in one of the most discriminated groups of people in our country, right? They're queer, they're black, they're outspoken. So the discrimination they're already facing on a regular basis is more than most black fellas are going to get. And then you're piling on them by pretending that your culture can't possibly handle a queer person being proud of that, and then intersecting that with their culture, which is exactly who they are.
Well, one was wearing red boots, high-heeled boots, and the other were wearing football boots. I don't see the difference.
Exactly. Well, what's the difference? Like the lad was on a football field with a football jersey on, painted up with the football boots, waving a spear. He was in the exact same pose that they were in, but because they're queer and they're not dressed in the way that you would like to dress, or that you see yourself, all of a sudden now that's wrong.
Can I pose a question? If Felicia was on a football field as part of the Indigenous All-Stars and was dressed like the Indigenous All-Stars, was doing the All-Stars dance, war dance, would she have got the same reaction?
Nope.
No. Think
They'd
about
be
it.
like, oh, that's deadly.
Deadly.
Go Felicia. Yeah, you representing.
But it's because these spaces like Mardi Gras exist, and it really just showed the underlying issue of homophobia within our community that I don't stand for. I don't, yes, the outfit was questionable, and I think the only person that Felicia really ever has to answer to is her community, firstly, is her cultural community and her queer community. And as far as I've seen, most of the people that I've seen posting about it were so behind Felicia. Again, she does have traditional paint-up, and that's for her family, her clan, her tribe to speak with. Do you know what I mean? So those are the complexities, but it really just showed, right, like the evolution of culture. Now, we're going to talk about football and the performative nature of that. And there's a performative nature of Felicia doing that because she's a drag queen. So, drag queens put on performances. So there is a bit of a difference there. But, seeing these places and spaces where our culture is evolving, it is changing. And, hip hop, for example, is another part of that. We've, since the 90s, really our people have really embraced, mainstream. It kind of, these spaces exist. It influences us. And Mardi Gras now is where mob get to show another side of our culture, that they are a part of our community. Whether or not people like it or not, it's not up to you. These people exist in our community, and we need to have these spaces created in culture for them.
And they have always existed in our communities. There's never not been a time where there hasn't been queer people in the Aboriginal community. Traditionally, contemporary, they just had to hide it a lot more in the last 200 years. But pre-colonisation, we wouldn't be having this conversation about, queer people aren't part of our culture, because we know that they were part of our culture. We know they were accepted. We know we didn't have that sort of homophobic, transphobic rubbish in our lives before we were colonised. So it's about understanding that, reflecting on your own trauma and why you might be inflicting trauma in another already traumatized group, but also understanding that the reason why we're the oldest living culture in the world is because we didn't stay stagnant. We have elements of our culture that are thousands of years old. We have songs and dances that go back generations, but we didn't stay there. We've evolved with times, and we're singing songs and we're doing dances that we never would have done before, and we're doing things in different communities and representing our culture. But the main thing that no matter which culture, no matter which community we're part of, everything is about rep and mob. They will rep and mob. Them football players will rep and mob. Them hip hop artists are rep and mob. The heavy metal rock band that's coming from Alice Springs, they're rep and mob. Like the whole thing is rep and mob. Like being proud of who you are as a black fella, and being proud of who you are as part of that community. Like that's.
And modern day expression, right? It's like we don't live in a traditional world anymore. That's just our reality. Yes, there are some places that obviously we still practice parts of our culture and tradition, but as a majority, we don't. We live in this where we are in society, which is a modern world and a modern country. And so to be able to still express yourself culturally in a modern way, it is something that we're just going to have to, it's going to keep evolving. It's not going to stop. There's going to be more and more change, more and more expression in different spaces. And, who is it to police that? At the end of the day, how do we uphold cultural protocol at the same time as being able to express yourself in a modern way? Whether that's through, dance, weaving, singing, whatever it is, whoever and wherever you come from. How do you still do that, but you still maintain that cultural practice in a proper way that's culturally appropriate? That's the question. I don't think we're going to have the answer. We're not.
We're definitely not going to have the answer. And I do think it's around the understanding that people have lost that connection to traditional culture, but they still want to rep their mob. Like they still want to show pride in who we are as black fellas and that continued connection to culture. So that's going to look different for everybody. It's, I got friends up in, Mad Eyes, Arakoon, blah, blah, blah. They're out in country. They can do what they like. And then they come to the city like, oh, what's going on here? What are these black fellas doing? But, if you put them Brisbane black fellas up there, the connection's going to be like, oh, okay. Like it's just a completely different lifestyle. And we're just adapting to what we've got. We're just adapting what we're given.
Yes.
So we can't all be painted up and have connection to songs and ceremonies, because unfortunately that was colonized out of us. But we can still have that pride in who we are as black fellas and as allies, supporting mob to have that in the different ways. Like that's one of the ways I do it. Is literally every shirt I wear is a black fella shirt. Like this shirt I got on right now, it's a muscle top, but it's Paddy Mills's line, right? So everything I'm wearing is like something from a black fella, like a black artist, a black person has had some sort of contribution to that, except for my LeBron jerseys because he's the GOAT. But anyway, that's another podcast for another time.
It really is.
But yeah, so that's how I show my connection. But some people are like, that's not really connection.
Yeah.
Like you're just wearing clothes.
Yeah. Felicia's only one example of it that's happening. But I can say this week I was really disappointed to see the elitism that happened from mob.
100%.
Oh, bro, the mob from traditional areas versus you city blacks, or you city blacks have lost culture. I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of obviously homophobia from black men. I saw a lot of it from women as well. But if we're talking about this, our black men are the first ones to go, we can't run our black men down because our mental health, suicide rates. But then you will jump online and you will punch down at somebody who they are a person and that person exists. You know what I mean? And if you're going to say, oh, you can't do, this and that, where's the care factor for someone's mental health? Because that was the thing that I guess I want to come back to when I said I experienced cyberbullying. I know what it's like to be on the end of that when you have something that's gone viral and it's going to be controversial, but you also know like, okay, I'll be able to handle it. But when it goes so viral and that post has gone crazy and we've seen the carry-on that's happened from it, the negative carry-on, and I just think, I really hope that Felicia this week has taken care of herself. I feel like she's probably had a lot of people surrounding her to get her through this. And I hope that people on the end of that just remember that there is a person. Doesn't matter who they are. There's a person on the end of that post. You might just see, it's like it's viral and they want attention. She's still a person. So, be careful, because that stuff there can really spiral, especially for LGBTQI people. There's some of the highest rates of self-harm and suicide in this country, and that's our people. It doesn't matter where they come from and who they are. That's still our people. And just the elitism of city blacks and this and that, my favorite thing I've told people about is, could you imagine, okay, let's just flip the script. Let's imagine that the boats, when they sailed in to colonise Australia, they ended up in the Northern Territory, or they ended up in WA first, or these spots where, there's still big populations of countrymen and traditional countrymen now. Imagine if the ships had gone in there first. And that's no disrespect to them mob there now. I'm just saying, though, you see the impacts of colonisation more on the East Coast because that's where the ships landed. But imagine if it had gone somewhere else.
The one thing I do know is the lads that are being the most homophobic are the ones that are in the closet.
Ooh, that's a big call, brother. Big call.
They might not be gay, but they're probably bi, but they're scared of those feelings. They don't want to talk about it. So the people I know, the men I know who are the most homophobic, I can be guaranteed if they had the opportunity, they would. Mm-hmm. But they don't.
And there's a lot of undercover brothers in our community, lots of them. And to say that there isn't, and I just want to give a shout out. If no one's ever seen it yet, it's on Stan. It's called Invisible Boys. If you've not seen the series,
watch it. So good.
Shout out to Elaine Crombie, Sister Girl's in it.
Sister Girl, she's back. Elaine Crombie, thank you very much.
It's a really great TV series that touches on, that closeted gay experience in WA, and it's obviously fictional, but it's very real in what we're talking about here. So
the other thing that I saw online that was really interesting, and again, talking about hypocrisy, Felicia had this photo. It might have been controversial in certain religious spheres, but for me, what was funny was black fellas that I know aren't religious all of a sudden talking about, how dare you, what's the blasphemy? How dare you create this blasphemy of Jesus and blah, blah, blah. I was like, brother, I've seen you. I know you don't go to church. What are you talking about here?
The image that Aaron's talking about is an image of Felicia spearing another queer person at Mardi Gras with their spear, and they were dressed as Jesus. And so that's the picture that Felicia had also posted. And yeah.
The reason why I'm calling it out is not because I support people being blasphemous to religion. What I'm saying is mob were just so caught up in the homophobia, they're just looking for excuses to hate. And it had nothing to do, your religious beliefs are your religious beliefs, but don't preach on Facebook when we see you every other week not being a Christian about how dare they talk about this. Everybody should, no, brother and sister, you mob aren't Christians. I see in your Facebook, I see what you do on the weekends.
Exactly right.
I know I know your past life. Let's not gammon here your pastor something, You're literally just trying to find something to hate on this poor person because, you got called out for being homophobic. So now you're like, oh no, now it goes against my religious beliefs.
Or don't bring my culture into this. Don't bring your gay. And it's not about being gay. Don't bring my culture into this. When did you practice your culture last? Because I can tell you when you broke your culture, when you smoking cigarettes, when you drinking, if you're carrying on with your woman, all these things break cultural protocol. So Felicia standing up in dress doesn't break cultural protocol like anybody else,
And again, we had queer mob. It's not queer is still part of culture. You don't get to say that sexuality isn't part of culture because everything's interconnected. We're one of the most interconnected people there was. And you're telling me we weren't in touch with our gay, trans, and lesbian communities? You didn't think we knew that? Or you didn't think we had a place for them? That's the whole point. We had a totem systems that looked at genealogy, so you don't think we knew about people being gay? Come on, wake up to yourself. It's really not that hard.
And I want to say too, the people that commented on that or saw the picture and were shocked, like I said, I was like, whoa, I had a few thoughts initially, but then I had to really dig deep and go, wait a minute, let's think about this, let's unpack it, let's have a look at this. And then you get to it. So it's okay to think about this picture. It's okay to think about the queer community and go, oh, I'm going to challenge my own biases here, really sit with that. And, it's okay to go, oh, actually, It's not that bad. You can change your mind. You don't have to stick to something because you got Gully on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, think about this and think about maybe that niece or nephew that's looking up at you and what you say and how you say it, and who might be a part of that community and can't feel safe to be who they are because of you. So just think about that. And to our LGBTQI mob, we really do see you. We hope you had a fantastic Mardi Gras and get us in there next year is all I'm going to say.
Yes. Happy Mardi Gras. Love you all. We want to be there 2026.
Deadly.
Culture killers.
Deadly. Deadly.
Deadly.
Stop it.
Deadly.
Culture killers.
It's a deadly
Deadly.
thing. Deadly.
Deadly.
Stop it.
Deadly.
Culture killers.
Culture killer. Deadly.
I'm telling you,
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
You will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel
I'm-
very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influenced.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad
very
position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not in a
Mr.
good
Gras,
position.
I
You don't
was-
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What
III.
was the
You're
thing about-
gambling with
what is
World
the thing about-
War III.
What?
And what you're doing is very disrespectful.
Right.
Speaking of disasters, if you're in Queensland right now, you're preparing, Southeast Queensland right now, you're preparing for a disaster, but I'm not really sure if that is classed as a disaster or a planned ambush, but that was ridiculous.
Oh my God, the week of disasters in
It is the week of disasters in the news for Queenslanders, Southeast Queenslanders in particular.
Look, on Culture Killers this week, it's just disasters all around, really. You've had at the start Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and Donald Trump in the Oval Office, like screaming. Well, okay, there was one person screaming at another person, really talking over them. I just have to say this. I know we talk about Trump a lot on this podcast, but it's becoming just absolute content gold every week. So
Every week he gives
Don't
us
like it.
something dumb.
oh man, the memes that come out of it, the disasters, and then obviously the cyclone. Oh man, can I just talk about the Southeast Queensland cyclone preppers this week in Brisbane? Obviously, the cyclone has been cruising around North Queensland. It come down here. It's like around Jewel Way. Then it's come down to Brizzy and all the way down to Lismore. You know, like it's across Southeast Queensland. And this week, though, in the lead up to the cyclone, I tell you what, my neighbourhood page popping off, my neighbourhood community page.
Yeah, so is mine. I'll interject just for this one story. So mine today, I was sitting in there having a quick scroll during lunch. Somebody's like, "Oh, we're already out of toilet paper." I was like, "Get a bidet. It'll change your life. You'll have a clean ring, and you don't have to worry about
Do you have a
toilet paper
bidet?
anymore." I want one.
Oh, okay, but you don't have one?
No, I'm getting one.
Are you? Did I tell you that we have one at work?
No.
Oh, brother, you have to come to my work building. And I can tell
will.
you right now, I save all my gunners for work. The bidet,
I
we would
want to
not.
be a Flash Murray and have my own bidet, a little dab with the toilet paper, then I'm out. Don't have to worry about hoarding toilet paper no more. Don't need it.
Not the dab with the toilet paper. Oh, my God. If you've never used a bidet, life-changing. Mwah, chef's kiss. Wet din.
Bidet's Japanese.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Them Japanese mob, they got it worked out. They got music in their toilets. They got bidets.
Yep.
They got heated toilet seats. Like,
Oh, my God. Yeah, ours at work have heated toilet
Australia
seats.
doing? What is Australia doing? Weird.
When I first got told you're going to have to come back into an office after working at home like full time, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be the worst. Then I got there and everyone's like, have you been in the toilet yet? And I was like, no, why? And they're like, you need to go. And I was like, oh, sure, okay. I walk in and I'm like, oh my God, their bidets. Magical, brother. They got front and back rear washing.
What?
Yeah, front and back. I've not used the front, to be quite honest with you. I'm a bit too scared.
I'll use it. I'll use everything. Just give it. I'll press every button.
look,
I don't care.
The back one is pretty full on. It's a consistent squirt, good ways.
It's a gateway drug for some people.
People pay very good money for that in a lot of different places. And yeah, I can tell you right now, the bidet at work it makes it worth it. It makes going into the office, because if you sit down and that seat is warm and then you get to it's just the best. I even have dairy when I go to work because I'm like,
You have dairy because you know what? I don't care.
I'm saving
Give
it
me
up.
the dairy because I can do it. I got the right tool here.
I really like the track we went down though, because now I feel like I want a bidet because you can't find toilet paper anywhere thanks to the cyclone. That's where we were going with it. The preppers. Can I just read you some of the neighbourhood posts that are from my neighbourhood? Keep in mind, all right, for anyone that doesn't know and has never been through a cyclone before, I'm from North Queensland. I'm very privy to a cyclone. Now, unless it's a Category 5.
Proper cyclones.
Yeah, proper cyclones. Category 3 up, is what I consider and most North Queenslanders would consider a proper cyclone. The one here in Brisbane and Southeast Queensland has been hanging around the Category 1, Category 2 mark. I've gone clubbing in Category 1. Yeah.
I've partied in category 1. It's not that much. You can run outside in your bed sheet, pretend you're Superman. It's nothing.
It's nothing. But, to people in Southeast Queensland, cyclones are rare. So this is a very rare thing. And you kind of like, take it a bit serious, but also like it's not Category 5. So if it's a Category 5, wake me up. Otherwise, I'll probably be asleep, to be quite honest with you. But this is my page, my neighbourhood page, because they are all Southeast Queenslanders. Most of them never probably been through a cyclone. So the panic is real, okay? This is the first one. Hi, neighbours. Any idea of an undercover car park not too far away to take my car to? Considered the Westfields, but that would rack up the dollars. We're at the bottom of this street and converted about flooding in our yard or carport. Appreciate your ideas. So they're going to go and move their car in a cyclone or before the cyclone, not to mention car parks flood.
Hopefully before.
Hopefully before.
Tomorrow's supposed to be when the rain comes. So they've got to move it now. They've got to go park it now because you're going to be flooded into your house.
Oh, my God. Okay, this is number 2, okay? I screenshotted these because they're making me weaker than weak, all right? I've got no energy left in my body after these. Hi, community. Would anyone have a spare battery radio I could borrow, hire, or purchase for the immediate future, please? There's nothing suitable at the shops at the moment. You don't have a torch? You don't have a radio? Like, what do you need a radio for? All of a sudden people look for radios?
What? You got a phone and it has a radio,
And the power's not going to be off that long.
We got radios here because my father-in-law lives with me and he's 90, so he has like a radio in every room, so we're good.
Just go and find an elderly person in the neighbourhood.
Find an old person. You got a radio in your car.
Exactly. Go and sit in the car. What are you talking about? You need a radio. Wake up to yourself. Like FM doesn't exist in our friggin' car speakers. Okay, the third one. Dear community, my husband's been busy prepping our house and has secured the trampoline upside down with 30 centimetre pegs. Thought I'd share in case any others needed inspo on what to do. And then she shared a photo of the trampoline upside down. Okay, this one is also one of my favourites. If anyone wants some puzzles or games for younger kids with the upcoming weather, we have a few available. Take all of them or whichever ones you want. And then they put a whole bunch of puzzles. So you can just go and play puzzles.
If you're a kid, you go out there and play it in the rain.
You're going with your boogie board and you're out. You're cruising around. Well, that's what North Queensland kids would do. I don't know about these Southeast Queensland kids.
That's what they'll be doing down here too. They'll be
reckon?
sliding in the parks, yeah.
And then here's another one. This one is probably my favourite of all of them. Hi, community. If anyone is concerned about losing power with the upcoming...
I just want to say I love your
community
voice when you do these.
Yeah,
I
changed. Okay.
These community announcements.
You got to understand, I live in a very white neighbourhood. If anyone asks, I live in the hood, okay? Because I'm going to keep up my reputation. No one knows I live in a very white neighbourhood. Nobody.
I love the voice is perfect. Thank you.
This is exactly the women in my neighbourhood. Bless their souls. This was a yes neighbourhood, okay?
Oh.
In the referendum. This was a majority yes.
The Greenies, go the Greens.
And they all had their yes campaign posters out the front. And the one black fellow who lives here did not.
Oh, my goodness.
So this is the community voice. This is it. Hi, community. There you go. And this voice gets me a long way in life too. Don't you worry about that. If anyone is concerned about losing power with the upcoming storms, you can get dry ice pallets or blocks from Ice Pack in Wollongabba. And that will keep your perishables or frozen or refrigerated fresh up to 7 days. Dry ice.
For 7 days.
Apparently.
What do you think's going to happen?
I don't know.
What's going to happen?
You know what makes me weak? everyone's forgetting this is the city. Now, it's not Wudjal and it's not North Queensland where they will let blackfellas and regional North Queenslanders go without power for weeks on end. You know what I mean?
There's 4 million of us here. The Queensland government knows we vote. They will be out there.
Exactly right.
Old simpleton premier will be out there putting the power, and he'll connect it. He'll hold them wires himself if he has to.
He'll bring out his screwdriver. Like, there's no way they're letting everyone go without power for more than a day or two. It's just not going to happen in the city. If it does, I'll eat my words happily, and I'll get dry ice for everyone in the community.
Dry ice for everybody, and we'll do smoke. We'll do smoke and what was it? Think with a smoking
ceremony.
Screen? Yeah, smoke. No, the smoke thing. You know, we have a disco, and they put the dry ice on, and everybody dances under the smoke like woo woo woo.
Or we could have a smoking ceremony.
Oh, go on then. Do you have a smoking ceremony for your
with dry ice
for your community?
Stop it. That is they would all stand up and want to be cleansed by that dry ice too. Don't you worry about that.
You would be the most popular blackfella and the only blackfella in your suburb.
You know what? I reckon I could probably sell that. Like if I went out and said, "Hey guys, I'm doing like a smoking ceremony with dry ice, just to cleanse everyone from this cyclone. Like I'm an Aboriginal woman. Like I reckon people would rock up.
Yeah, $5. Cold transfer.
Oh my God. Could you imagine? I reckon people in my community, I reckon they would rock up in my neighbourhood and be like, I'm here to support.
Yep, I'm an ally. I'm here to support.
You know when they go like this? You know when they like bring the smoke to their face, but it's dry ice, and they just like putting it over their face to cleanse themselves?
Yeah. Would that work? Like scientifically, would dry ice actually work as a thing to cleanse your skin?
Maybe. Isn't it? What is it? What is dry ice? Like
I don't know. It's dry and it's ice.
It's disaster. That's what it is. It's It's just going to be another disaster. But that's the preppers have been real, bro. This week in Brizzy. On top of that, have you had any disasters yourself? This week?
So we're in the line, and I'll tell you a funny story. So obviously, being in Central Queensland, North Queensland, experienced my own share of cyclones. It's no dramas, and then I came to the realization yesterday. I was like, all them other cyclones I was in, I was renting. Like I live in a big house on a big hill.
You didn't care.
A flash house. Like I got to pay. Anything breaks, I got to pay for it.
I'm the guy.
And then I'm like, I got to start prepping. Like I got to start putting things away. I got to start taping things up. All of my past experience, I was renting somebody else's house. If something broke, they pay for it. And I'm looking around this house like, this is expensive. We need to start locking stuff down.
Wait a minute. Cyclones are dangerous.
Cyclones are dangerous to rich people. Like I'm not rich, but I'll be poor if it actually hits because I hadn't done nothing. So
oh my God, man, that makes a lot of sense.
I've had a lot of fun in cyclones. Me and my mate nearly drowned. We're riding the rivers, get out in the tired shoes when Townsville used to flood. And then we nearly died going through somewhere, but that was just good old fun days of enjoying the wet weather.
This is Queensland, right? This is what we do.
You got to turn everything fun.
Man.
Twisting back to the Trump thing.
Yeah.
My favorite quote of probably this decade has probably come from that Zelensky thing where he goes, "You're raising the volume of your voice, but not the logic in your argument." I was like, that is... So English is his fourth language. Like English is his fourth language. His brother speaks 4 languages, probably more. Yeah. I probably just made that number up, but I'm pretty sure it's 4. And he had that comeback when that simpleton Vance was raising his voice at him.
JD Vance, shut up, bro.
When I heard that, I was like, that is like a punch to the face. He's like, you're raising the volume of your voice, but the logic in your argument, but not the logic in your argument. I was like, I'm going to write that down. Anytime somebody starts talking real loud, I'm like, bam. Here's Zelensky in your face.
Trump and JD Vance just need a really good cleansing with some dry ice. That's probably all I can say.
$5.
Oh my God, the evolution of culture. Anyway, brother, that is us.
Yes,
for
thank
another
you very
episode.
much.
Catch you next week.
Yeah, well.
Central